what's up, guys? Today we'll be reacting to a video from a guy by the name of Presidential House. The Presidential House. The video, he has about 15 subscribers, so small channel. And the video is called Every U.S. President's Death Explained in 10 Minutes. And before I decided to back to this channel, I decided to comment underneath, and I said this. Here's what I said. Hey, dude, I like your video. Is it okay if I react to it? So I commented beneath that, and if he has a problem with me reacting to one of his videos, I'll apologize for that problem, but I wanted to ask him for just in case, because my last video, I did a live one time, and I got copyrighted, because I reacted to somebody that I was not meant to react to, and I needed permission to, so do not want to repeat that mistake again. But this guy has under 15 subscribers, and we're going to react to this video that he made about 3 days ago called "Every U.S. President's Death Explained in 10 Minutes." I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's just check it out.
From bizarre medical practices to tragic assassinations and eerie coincidences, the way America's presidents have met their end is just as fascinating as their lives. Some departed with powerful words that echo through history, while others left behind remarks so ordinary you can hardly believe them. Together, their final moments reveal a very human side to the nation's highest office. We begin with George Washington. After riding through freezing rain, he developed a throat infection that turned deadly.
Yeah, sorry guys, but hold up. So the thing about Washington was, number one, Washington never wanted to become president. That's not what Washington people understand. Washington was people who, similar to Eisenhower and Garfield and a few other people, never want to become president. They never dreamed of it. They never wanted to become president. In fact, when he became he became a nominee only because he just did it because, because he got promised, like, if you do this to protect, America, protect, our country. And he just said, okay. And then some 2 terms, and in his inauguration speech, his final speech he gave before leaving office, his final address, his farewell address, he basically said that that there must not be a 2-party system. There must never be a party system ever, because if that ever happens, America will be divided forever. And he left, and he went back to Mount Vernon, and he only lived like 2 years there. And unfortunately, as I said, a couple of days before, I believe, let me show you guys where it is. Yeah. Alright, so on December 14th, 1779, 2 days, I believe, earlier, Thomas Jefferson, as this guy explained, Presidential House had explained, that he was riding in the rain on a horse, and he got severely sick. He got a foot infection. And this is back in 1799. This is a time period where medicine is just basically, it's just terrible. There is no medicine, basically. So there's no pills, there is no, medication. It's just, old fictional, like bloodletting or leeches, that type of stuff. And what happens is he's sick. The doctors begin to just bloodlet him. And they begin bloodletting's idea, where you basically cut the person body open, you drain them out of blood. And the idea behind it is it's the idea that you balance the blood, because they believe that a balanced blood and a balanced body was the thing that made the person sick, basically. And unfortunately, because of this, Jefferson died. And his final words, if I'm correct, is "'tis as well," which he said to his wife, Martha Washington.
At the time, medicine was primitive, and doctors believed bloodletting could cure disease. They drained nearly 80 ounces of Washington's blood, weakening him beyond recovery. As he struggled for breath, he told his doctor, "I die hard, but I am not afraid to go. His final words, however, were calm and resigned. "'Tis well." The story of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson is almost uncanny. Once allies, later bitter rivals, they reconciled in old age through letters. On July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, both men died within hours of each other. Jefferson asked if it was the 4th of July and held on until that symbolic date before whispering, "No, doctor, nothing more." In Massachusetts, Adams, unaware of Jefferson's passing, declared, "Thomas Jefferson survives." Two of America's founding fathers departed on the very day the
My
nation
God.
celebrated its birth. James Madison nearly joined this strange pattern. Weakened by heart failure in 1836, his doctors tried to keep him alive until Independence Day. Offered stimulants, Madison refused, saying he felt better lying down, and died a week earlier. His successor, James Monroe, did keep the tradition. He passed away on July 4th, 1831, from tuberculosis and heart failure, lamenting that he would never again see his friend Madison. Some presidents left life in dramatic fashion. John Quincy Adams, who returned to Congress after his presidency, collapsed
Yeah.
from a stroke while voting. His final words: "This is the last of Earth. I am content." Andrew Jackson, the
Yeah. So
fire
hold on. I'm sorry, real quick, but I should wrap though. So after John Quincy Adams lost the presidential election, he became a vocal critic of slavery, and he was famous because during after he lost the election in 1828, he became a critic of Jackson, and he began his deep hatred. He began to go to Congress and he began to advocate against slavery. And what happened was in 1845. Let me see. We said 1845. Yeah,
who returned to Congress after his presidency collapsed
yeah, 1845, and he was given a speech. He was given a speech about slavery, and this is a time period where slavery was a big issue. And while giving his speech, all of a sudden, uh, he fell on the ground, and he suffered a massive stroke. And his last words was, this guy says,
words, "This is the last of Earth.
This is the last of Earth. I am content."
I am content." Andrew Jackson, the fiery war hero and duelist, eventually softened. On his deathbed, he told his family not to cry and reassured them they would all meet again in heaven. Others passed more quietly. Martin Van Buren, plagued by heart and lung troubles, expressed faith with the words, "There is but one reliance." William Henry Harrison, who secured his place in history
And
with the shortest
the sad thing about
presidency,
William Henry Harrison,
died only
I
30.
would say, is number one. There's this myth that happened that like Harrison died because he gave this long ass speech outside with no coat on in the freezing rain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did give the long speech all the time, and but the truth is that he didn't die because of that. What actually killed him was the DC tap water. And if you don't believe me, look it up. The DC tap water was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, let's take a look. So, okay, Tyler Dice moved into office, and internet information came out that Tyler actually was drinking the tap water. That's what people speculate. Polk died like a few months after leaving office from cholera. Taylor died himself. So all three of these guys died in just 10 years of each other. And the most terrible died like in office and after leaving office in a short amount of time. So so it's most likely to believe that Harrison Taylor and Polk mostly died because of drinking the tap water.
One
Most
days
drinking the
after
decent
his
water.
inauguration. For decades, blamed on pneumonia, modern research suggests typhoid fever from contaminated White
Yep.
House water. His final words were simple: I tried to discharge my duties faithfully.
Faithfully.
Not every president was honored. John Tyler sided with the Confederacy during the Civil War and became the only president whose death was not officially mourned
Yeah.
by the U.S. government. His last words were, perhaps it is best. James K.
Yeah, that's true.
Polk
Yeah.
died only
So,
months
but
after leaving office.
Tyler was like the Tyler is one of the only people who ever Tyler was the only president who ever get elected to Confederate Congress. He started the Confederacy. And usually the way it works is that when a president dies, there's always this announcement of like a day of mourning. But but what happened was when Tyler died, uh and because he sided with the South, because he was from Virginia, so he decided to side with the South, instead of siding with the Union. No, the government did not want him. Lincoln never announced that like today's the day of mourning for John Tyler. No, I mean even though he was a Whig, um, Lincoln saw Tyler as not a good person. He saw him as a man who was meant to serve people, but instead betrayed it.
Office at 53, felled by cholera. His farewell to his wife was tender. I love you, Sarah. For all eternity, I love you. Sometimes the causes were almost absurd. Zachary Taylor, after celebrating July 4th in blazing heat, ate raw cherries and drank milk. Within days, he was dead from gastroenteritis. His successor, Millard Fillmore, lived longer,
Wait,
but
hold
his
on.
final
No,
words were
Millard.
comically mundane.
I'm sorry for saying real quick. This is a good video, but I th- I believe it's pronounced Millard Fillmore, not Millard. Millard Fillmore.
Offered soup on his deathbed. He said, the nourishment is palatable. A culinary review as his last gift to history. Franklin Pierce, haunted by personal tragedy,
Yeah.
drank himself into liver disease and died
It's sad.
alone with no recorded words.
It's sad.
James Buchanan
It's I'm
remembered
sorry, but like, if there's one president that I wish never would be Franklin Pierce, because that guy, oh my god, I mean this guy, he had he had three kids, he had three sons, all of them died. His third son, uh, died like a few weeks before his inauguration, and he was, I'm not kidding you, decapitated by a train. The way it goes that Franklin and his wife and his third son, his youngest son, were actually walking near a train, and all of a sudden the train came by, and the train just split off, and it just sent a scrap of shrapnel. It cut between the area, and it immediately sent this little post, and the post decapitated his son instantly. And Pierce just saw this, and Pierce just, oh my god, he was devastated because of this. He never recovered. Uh, his wife, who was super happy becoming president and becoming the first lady, she said that like, she never wanted to become. She never she never talked about politics ever again. She never even was in the media. Pierce during his presidency was always drinking, even after leaving office, which caused his death from cirrhosis. So yeah, sad story.
for failing to stop the Civil War, prayed weekly, O Lord God Almighty, as thou wilt. The war produced one of America's greatest tragedies, the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Shot by John Wilkes Booth in a theater, Lincoln's last words were not political, but tender, spoken to his wife as he held her hand. Andrew Johnson, his successor, later died of a stroke, insisting he needed no doctor. Ulysses S. Grant, the general who saved the Union, faced his end with determination. Bankrupted by a Ponzi
Ponzi
scheme
scheme.
and dying of throat cancer, he spent his final months
Yeah,
writing
that
his
yeah
memoirs to
that's his
ensure his
final photo
family's
right there.
security. His
Yeah.
last word was simply water. Rutherford B. Hayes, by contrast, passed peacefully from heart failure, comforted by the thought of rejoining his beloved wife, Lucy. James Garfield's death shocked the nation. Shot in a train station,
Charles.
he initially survived, but doctors repeatedly probed his wound with unwashed hands and instruments, causing infections that slowly killed him over 80 agonizing days. His final plea, "Can't you stop the pain?" His successor, Chester Arthur, later succumbed to kidney disease, despairing that life was not worth living. Grover Cleveland, who served 2 non-consecutive terms, left with the words, "I have tried so hard to do
You're right.
right." Benjamin Harrison died after influenza turned into pneumonia, gasping, "Doctor, my lungs." William McKinley, assassinated in 1901, lingered for days before telling his wife, "God's will be done,
Not
not ours."
yours.
His death finally convinced Americans to give the Secret Service permanent responsibility for protecting presidents. Theodore Roosevelt lived fiercely until the end, even after surviving an
Yeah. So
assassination attempt, giving
um,
an 80.
I'm sorry, but kind of so Teddy Roosevelt, as we all know, was one of the most vibrant, strongest president of our time. Besides Gerald Ford, athletic, great hunter, famously was shot in the 1912 election and still kept on giving a speech. But but after he left office, he actually when he left office, he did this hunting trip with his son Archibald. And what happened is, he got severely sick during the trip, and he went to Brazil, and he got severely infected, and actually thought he was going to die, and told his own son Archibald that to leave me. And what happened is, when he came back to America around 1913, the losing the presidential election, he was severely sick. I mean, he was having struggle with heart problems and lung problems there and there, and he was very, very ill. Now, unfortunately for him, on July 15th, July 18th, I'm not sure, around July, his son, Quentin Roosevelt, was shot down. Quentin is the only U.S. president's son to be killed in war, and this devastated Teddy around that devastated Fedor and his wife. And unfortunately, on January 6, 1919, Theodore Roosevelt passed away from pulmonary embolism. His last words were, "James, can you please put out the light?" So, rest. And there's a famous quote from Thomas Marshall. Thomas Marshall, the vice president, said, "Death had to wait for Theodore Roosevelt to go to sleep, because if he didn't, there would have been a ruckus."
4-minute speech with a bullet lodged in his chest. He later died peacefully in his sleep. His last request to his aide was simple: "Put out the light." William Howard Taft, remembered for his size, died of heart failure without famous words. Woodrow Wilson, crippled by strokes, compared himself to a broken machine ready to stop. Warren Harding collapsed in 1923 during a tour, dying in bed as his wife read to him. His last words: "That's good. Go on, read some more." Calvin Coolidge, Silent Cal, died of a heart attack after greeting his wife casually that morning. Herbert Hoover lived to 90, dying quietly of internal bleeding with no words recorded. Franklin D. Roosevelt, elected 4 times,
I have a headache.
collapsed from a stroke in 1945. His last words: "I have terrific pain in the back of my head." The modern era brought longer lives. Harry Truman died at 88 after slipping into a coma. Dwight Eisenhower's last words were resolute: "I want to go." God take me, John F. Kennedy's assassination in Dallas ended with an almost casual remark to the Texas First Lady, "No, you certainly can't," moments before the fatal shot. Lyndon Johnson followed a decade later, dying of a heart attack at his Texas ranch. Richard Nixon, disgraced but long lived, died after a stroke, calling weekly for help. Gerald
Help.
Ford reached 93, passing peacefully with his last words kept private. Jimmy Carter surpassed them all, reaching 100 in 2024. While his final words weren't public, he told family in his last weeks that he was ready to see Rosalind again. Ronald Reagan, after years of Alzheimer's, could no longer speak when he died. George H.W. Bush, at 94, gave his son a simple farewell. "I love you too." In total, 8 presidents have died in office, 4 assassinated, 4 of natural causes. The youngest was John F. Kennedy at 46, the oldest, Jimmy Carter, at 100.
No.
Some left wisdom that echoed through history. Others gave us the most ordinary remarks about soup, pain, or putting out a light. From cherries and cholera to bullets and broken hearts, these were the final moments of America's presidents. Their deaths remind us that no matter how powerful the office, each man was human, facing the same fragile end as the rest of us. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this journey through the last moments of America's leaders, be sure to subscribe because history holds countless more unbelievable stories, and you won't want to miss the next one.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this video a like. Um, Make sure you guys subscribe to this guy, Presidential House. Fantastic video, and I recommend it. Have a wonderful day. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll post more content like this.